All right, let's look at the square root of 60 again. So we have to find two perfect squares, but they have to be on either side of 60. So one has to be smaller than 60 and one has to be bigger than 60. So when you said 64, that's great. 64 is really close to 60, but it's bigger than 60. So your other one has to be smaller. So the other one is the square root of 49. So we would not say the square root of 60 is between the square root of 49 and the square root of 64. Instead, we would say the square root of 60 is between 7 and 8, because 7 times 7 is 49 and 8 times 8 is 64. To know which one it's the closest to, whether it's closer to 7 or closer to 8, you look at the numbers. 60 is closer to 64 than it is to 49. So that means the square root of 60 is closer to 8 than it is to 7, because there's only a difference of 4 here, but there's a difference of 11 from 49 to 60. So if we were to have a number line, and 7 and 8 were both on our number line, the square root of 60 is somewhere in between these two numbers. It's irrational, so it's not going to come out pretty, but it's somewhere closer to 8. So right in the middle of 7 and 8 is 7.5. So that means the square root of 60 is somewhere over here, because it has to be closer to 8. So to the nearest integer, that is 8. But to the nearest tenth, we have to look at decimals between 7.5 and 8. So we have 7.5, we have 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, and 7.9. All right, and really it's just guessing and checking from here. We know it has to be one of these, so we just pick one at random. So I usually start right in the middle at 7.7. So I'm going to multiply 7.7 times 7.7 to see what 7.7 squared is. So multiply, 4953, 49, 4953. So we get 59.29, which is really close to 60. But we want to see if we can get any closer. So because this number is smaller than 60, we are not going to try 7.6 and 7.7. We're going to try bigger numbers. So let's try 7.8 next. So we'll do 7.8 times 7.8. Hopefully I'm not making any silly mistakes here. So when we take 7.8 times 7.8, we get 60.84. So 60 is between these two. And again, we ask ourselves, which one is it closer to? And it's just a little bit closer to 59.29, which means to the nearest tenth, our answer is 7.7. So to sum up, the square root of 60 is between 7 and 8, but it was a little bit closer to 8. So when we were going to try to find it to the nearest tenth, we want to find numbers that are closer to 8 than they are to 7. So we didn't try any of these. Then we just guessed and checked a couple of answers, and whichever one was the closest, that was the closest to being the square root of the square root of 60.